got four things to say to you. Raise hell, praise Dale, God bless America, and gentlemen, start your engines!
I'm Jeff Gordon, and you're watching Racing America.
Hello, friends. Welcome in.
Oh, we're live. Wednesday. Oh, sorry. I wasn't paying attention. That's a hell of a way to start a show.
Wednesday program. It is. # Real Race Talk. It is the Revved Up Sports Show. Welcome in, guys. Special day. I mean, not on purpose. Just kind of one of those things where we had to kind of do a little day switch, but we're doing a special program today, right, my man?
We're doing a special. Hey, did I win? Did anybody win? Did you get detained? I have not heard one way or the other. I didn't hear any stories, so I don't think you got detained on your vacation this time.
Let me ride across. Let me ride in. It's a whole different story that I could go into. A waste of time. Total disorganization. Everything was fine till we got home. Then it all went the way it usually does. But no, not detained at all. Not detained at all. No harassment. Nothing at all. And I'm even darker now after basking in the Mexican sun. But no, it worked out well.
Even from the kneecaps down, you looked a little darker from the pictures I saw.
Yeah. I got burned up pretty good. Got burned up pretty good. But it is the Revved Up Sports Show on Wednesday. And special edition, and it's kind of a somber time, right? You know,
bittersweet show kind of deal.
Yeah. You know, this is going to be our Greg Davidson tribute show. The great Texas legend Greg Davidson passed away after just one hell of a fight. As you would suspect, Greg Davidson was not going to go down without a fight. But we're kind of planning this show, and it's like, let's pay tribute to him. But we can be sad, but it's not. Let's not be sad. I mean, let's enjoy the memories, I think, is what this is going to be more than anything else.
Yeah, I mean, just like Ozzy says, no more tears, man. Lost the icon legend there too. Ozzy Osbourne, was it yesterday or Monday?
3 in a row. The Huxtable Kid, Greg, and Ozzy Osbourne. Man,
they do have a tendency to come in threes. Trust me, I know.
That's one legend, at least. Greg Davidson. The other two, I don't know. Ozzy, maybe.
Even Huxtable, as wild as Greg Davidson got, he never pissed on the Alamo.
Yeah, or ate a bat. So yeah, there's all that. But so what we'll do tonight is we've got a couple of folks that we're going to talk to, and I've gotten some stories that have been sent over that will kind of talk about. Got some pictures, but Gina Shile Knowles will join us here at 7:15. Lots of conversation there with her about the Davidsons, in particular Greg, and then our man, talk about a name from the past that reached out and he said, "Hey man, I love that guy." Renowned race announcer Chuck Licata will join us as well, and I'm sure he's got some stories as well with Greg. Everybody's got a Greg Davidson story, it seems like.
Everybody's got one. We all have one. If you don't have one, then you weren't in the right circle, because if he screwed with you, then you knew he liked you.
Yeah, exactly right. So that was the whole thing there with him, and you know, and the other part about it is, so we talked to Greg, I think, a couple of different times on this show, and I went back and I found all of that archive footage, and actually on the show tonight you'll hear from Greg himself. So we've got some stories from Greg Davidson that he will tell you, that he will recount, that he gave to us a while back. And what I'm actually planning to do with that, I thought about just maybe, and I thought about this, Bobby. I was like, you know, we could do the show, we could kind of talk about whatever, and then like boom, redrop the original interview. But it's like, we can do bits and pieces. I want to get that remastered and packaged up, and then we'll send that to Chris and Peggy and Heather. Let them have it first, and then we can go back and we'll re-release it. And that's the way to do that. Let them hear all that first, even though they've heard it probably a lot of times. Because I remember after we talked to Greg, he enjoyed talking to us.
He had a great time. So do we. We had a good time.
Oh yeah. There's absolutely no
even
doubt
in Pensacola that time in the lobby at that little roach coach you booked for us there.
Oh,
With
yeah.
Pensacola for the Derby. Sat there for almost 2 hours in the lobby, sitting there talking to Greg, showing us how he put his leg on and leg off.
Drinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, you remember he came rolling up because he was rolling at the time. He comes rolling up and with his bottle. You know, I don't think he was supposed to be doing that at the time, but he rolled smoking. And you know, he's like, after a while, what was that, about hour and a half in, he's like, watch this.
Yeah.
Oh, there's the leg, like getting himself out of that thing. Jeez Louise. That's when you knew it was going to be a little haywire there at the Pensacola, whatever that thing was.
I forgot what that was, a motel, but no, it wasn't a Motel 6. It was like one of Days Inn. It was like a microtel or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you didn't have standards for hotel rooms.
Yeah, well, that's when I had to pay for it. So it's like, okay, but yeah. So anyway, first one to roll out, it was like right away. I got a text from our man Bruce Wright, father of course, the showstopper Jake Wright, and this was Jake Racing Bandoleros. They were in Monroe, Louisiana, Friday practice. So Bandoleros. So you think about Jake Wright and Bandoleros. What's Jake? Mid to late 20s. So this was
mid-20s now. Yeah.
Yeah, this was over 2 decades ago. Greg was in his pro late model, number 96. Jake was 96 also. Jake wandered over to Greg's car. This little kid talking racing with his hero, Greg. Greg asked why he was 96, and Jake said, because of you. I mean, that's flattering. I mean, I don't care who you are. When somebody says I'm running my number because of you, I mean, that's pretty cool. I wish I had a picture, but literally what I saw was a grizzled veteran and a child walking towards turn 3. Greg was teaching Jake about the track, where the bumps are, where to run. These two talked for an hour, or walked for an hour. Greg came up to me and said, this kid is special. I laughed, but I never forgot it. Greg's always been tight with Jake, and he, of course, they're going to miss him. So that's Greg Davidson right there, man.
Sure is, in a nutshell.
Mm-hmm. One of the fiercest guys that you're going to find, but it really was, man, where you got him off the track. He was just a pretty special dude, man. Pretty special dude.
In that car, gung ho. You know, he could flip that switch. You take the helmet off, and he was great. And then he puts that helmet on. He's just a hardcore racer, just an amazing talent behind that wheel, and he helped a lot of people out. So it was kind of a sad deal to hear that. But yeah, I'm just glad that we got the opportunity to talk to him multiple times on this show, to where he got to tell his stories his own way.
Yeah, that really was the thing that that he just kind of where he just told it only in ways that he could. And tonight, the ones that we'll hear, we don't hear we're not going to hear a lot of the serious stuff tonight. I mean, they are serious, but the way that he tells them. So we'll play those at various times as we're going throughout, and this pretty much sums it up right here from David. He's just a great racer. And that was in the days when, back then, when I remember Greg, and I've talked about this a couple of different times, back in those days, and it's still like this around here now with dirt, to where it was you had the San Antonio bunch, you had the Austin racers, you had the Houston area racers, then you had Odessa, Midland, all of that, and then Corpus, so it was, but and in each one of those, you could probably go back and you think about that. Like in the Houston bunch, you think about the rocket ship, the dude that had balls of steel, and that was Greg Davidson. I mean, Greg Davidson never did anything half throttle. I mean, the dude was just, I've heard stories about him driving personal cars, vehicles, to where it's just all out, just flat balls out. And that's the way he raced all the time.
The term you're looking for is WFO. That was his motto in life. WFO.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what he did. So and it was that was the cool part that as this show kind of started gathering its legs and all that we got to talk to some of these guys. And Bobby, I'm actually going to plug a cord in, because I think with Gina we're going to have to do a phone call. So I'm going to plug a cord in, so I may go silent for a while here. Or not for a while, but just for a couple minutes. Here we go.
Just for a couple minutes. Okay. Well, we'll see if you're going to go silent. Yeah, it looks like we had a little technical difficulties with Gina earlier trying to get her on screen, but it's okay though, because even if we don't have her on screen, we'll get her voice, and the stories that she could tell will be just as good over the telephone airwaves as they are over regular video airwaves. So
Yeah,
that's good.
yeah. The only bad thing is we don't get to see Gina.
I know.
Yeah, because she's looking great. I mean, I see pictures of her. She's traveling all over the place, getting to do some really cool stuff. And yeah, it was, but you know, that's okay. The whole thing is we just, again, we're celebrating. We're celebrating all of this tonight. So that's the main thing. But and again, I mean, we're talking about this. Obviously, condolences to the Davidson family, Christopher, and of course Miss Peggy and Heather and everybody. That's the main thing. And again, this is a tribute. And while we're mentioning that as well, did want to mention our man Chuck Barber in the Corpus area. Again, another just good, really good, good man, good guy. Racing guy. He lost his dear wife Judy as well. I saw a couple of days, so we're obviously thinking about them as well. So it's tough, and of course with the kiddos there. I mean, grown kids, but still, that's tough because those are good people. Real
good people. The barbers down in Corpus had a lot of good times talking to them over the years. So
yeah. It you know, it's one of those things where you know that we've done this for so long that unfortunately when you start losing people, it's like, you know, I remember them X amount of years ago. I mean, that's like for me with Greg Davidson, it's like, oh, I remember Greg racing when I was 10.
Yeah, me too.
And I'm not anywhere near 10 any longer. So yeah, that it's tough, but again, we are celebrating tonight, and Gina, I think we'll probably have some information on the celebration of life and so forth. That'll be going on there for Greg as she can give us some details on that. And let's go ahead and head over to the hotline. I think we have that all connected right now. And welcome in our great friend. It is Gina Shile-Knowles. Gina, how you doing, ma'am? I'm
good, Rodney. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, girl. I wish that we were talking. Well, to kind of preface everything. So Bobby and I were talking. This sucks. It's sad that we're having to talk about this, but I think Greg would want us to celebrate tonight, right?
I feel the same way. I you know, a lot of people, let me tell you, he lived a fast and full life, and definitely should be celebrated. And he would love it. Mm-hmm. He would love it. Absolutely. That we were doing this.
Absolutely.
And talking about it. Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yep. Yeah. Got you there, Bobby. You still with us?
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm just listening.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't know if we were still in intros or still doing questions or whatever. So
yeah. Nope. Have at it. It's all yours.
So Gina, before we get into Greg, what's your life been like lately? Looks like Rodney said you were all over the place. What you been up to lately?
I'm on the road, selling engines and selling Chevy parts and kind of plugging in General Motors in different ways into the sport. So I stay on the road. I kind of have an obsession with this CT525 engine. It's very important I get this engine into play in as many places as possible because it is a game changer for our sport. So I've kind of been honed in on making that happen. So I'm on the road actually now to Georgia. I got a dirt race to go to tomorrow night.
Oh,
Blue Ridge, Georgia.
Look at you, yep. the dirt queen.
I go back and forth. You know, I watched some super late model racing on dirt, and wow, TV does not do those things justice at all.
Yeah.
And then we went to Eldora. So I mean, I enjoyed dirt. You know, I grew up watching dirt too. My dad ran a bunch of sprint cars. My Uncle Jerry ran the wing sprints and midgets. So I enjoy it. I prefer asphalt, but hey, dirt's good too. Those guys buy more than asphalt guys.
Yeah, and with the motor, I mean, we'll get to Greg here in just a second, but kind of with that motor, honestly, with all the crates, that really is something where I'm glad that it's finally getting, because we've had folks on this show to where they're like, in our series, we have the open motor rule, but everybody goes to the crate because it's just more economical. And it's one of those things to where it just works better financially. Kind of talk to that point, because it's sealed. I mean, I know there's ways to do different things, but it's a cost saver and a game changer. I think that they're finally starting to realize.
Yes, yes. And you know, it levels the playing field in a good way. But this CT525 is an engine that you can get, you know, it will be competitive with the $40,000 and $50,000 engines.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's one of those that if it's put into the rules, it would definitely, it would hang. I've never really known an engine like this before, and it's been out a long time. But pretty much everything in racing is going to be LS on the LS platform, LS based.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just trying to get familiar with it and get it implemented, and try to educate the engine builders who they don't really like this engine, because in the sprint car world, it'll go 5 to 6 seasons without having to be freshened.
God, man, I love that. That shit. Are you kidding me? That's amazing.
It is amazing. And, you know, I battle the engine builders, and I understand that they don't want it. And, you know, they're hesitant. They don't like it because of that. I get it. But I tell them, the first ones that get on board are going to benefit from it. Educate yourself on it, because it's coming. Yeah. It's coming. We can either learn it now or be force fed this engine by General Motors when the 602s and 604s get pulled back.
That's right. That's right.
I mean, that's just the way it is. Racing is it's an animal,
mm-hmm.
and you got to kind of stay ahead of the game. And if I was a racer or an engine builder, I would start learning the CT525 if you're not already familiar with it. And if you're familiar with it from, 10, 20, 30 years ago, it's not the same.
Yeah,
it's
know.
not the same.
Yeah.
So reevaluate it.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, enough of that. Let's talk about Greg.
So go ahead, Gina. I know you got some good stories. Go for it.
Well, the thing about Greg is and everyone you talk to says this. Anytime you were with him or traveled to a race with him, because him and my stepdad, Mike Crawford, who basically raised me, so I call him Dad.
Yep.
They were best friends. They worked together. Greg had the electric company. My dad was a general contractor. So I saw Greg a lot in outside of racing and going to races. But when you traveled with them, there was always something that happened. Like, I swear, I can't explain it, but it always left you with a Greg story. While it scared you, or it was traumatic whenever it was happened, or there's a lot of drama surrounding it, it became one of those stories that everybody laughs at, when you talk about them. And there were many, like the time we were following Greg's in the motorhome. They had a motorhome and an open wheel trailer pulling the race car, and he's ahead of us. And there's a bunch of cones. I think it was when we were fixing to hit the Louisiana Bridge, and there's a ton of cones set up. And Greg is knocking every single one of them down, every single one. And as we get to the end of the cones, here's this poor guy sitting on this thing setting out the cones.
Oh shit.
Yes, and I mean, when I say along, it was probably almost the entire bridge, and he knocked down 80%. No, I'm gonna say 90% of those cones. So we stopped at the next rest stop, and my mom said, "Greg, you knocked down almost every single one of those cones that poor guy was putting." He's like, I just couldn't get that trailer straight. You know how he would talk.
Yeah.
I just couldn't get it off the cones.
Yeah.
Crazy, little crazy things like that just made it Greg.
Yeah.
It was just Greg.
And isn't that, Gina, with him, because with that, like you're talking about there, I mean, Greg had a lot of friends. I mean, I was talking earlier to where,
yes.
Back in those days, it was more, I mean, with all the pavement racing we had, you had the different regions of pavement racing in Texas. But Greg had a lot of friends in all of them. But for them, his circle of, whether it was you guys and his family and the folks that worked on his stuff, it was a lot of it. The racing was great because he was so damn good at it. But it was just an event every time you went to a race. just an event.
Yes, it was. It was an event, and he put on a show. He was a showman. He was very good at that. He had, he had a huge personality, a huge aura about him. And when he talked, remember, he would kind of talk, and he would kind of bounce off of his toes
Yep.
when he talked.
Yep.
You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
He just was full of personality, and he was in his element at the racetrack. Because like I said, I would see him at my dad's shop, or the work or whatever, and he was Greg, yes, but at the racetrack he was Greg Davidson. He was just different, and he was just bubbly and fun, and always helpful, always had a smile on his face. Now I've seen, I saw other sides of him when other racers would get involved, but it was still had some element of a sweetness to it. I can't explain what it is, but it's just something about it that about the man, and he will definitely be missed. I feel so privileged to have been running HMP when he made his comeback, because it was like a touchstone to my dad. I know my dad would have been so proud of him. So it made me so happy and warmed my heart when we were running HMP whenever he came back and he won. That made me so proud, and I will always cherish that, and that we were a part of that and got to witness it. Because I know everyone knows his struggle, and yes, it was a struggle, but they really don't know how much of a struggle it was for Greg. But I'm just so happy that I have that. I will hold that. I will cherish that for the rest of my life, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was one of the only times I saw Rodney ever get super duper choked up at a racetrack, was that night that Greg won. So cool deal.
Yes, I was looking at the picture. Someone posted pictures on Facebook, and I was like, good Lord, I think I had cried so much. I don't know what was wrong with my face, but I was like, man, that's a horrible picture.
Yeah.
But it was special. It was definitely special.
And let's kind of talk about that with without giving a lot of details, because like you said, it was very much a struggle, because as that was going on, I mean, just the modifications they had to do to that car, Gina, just to make that thing right. And I remember going out there and watching him practice, and he just couldn't. And then he got it figured out. And then I remember vividly him practicing at Mobile in this car that he's going to control by hand, that big monster.
Yes.
And
that was after he lost his second leg. That's his last leg. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
And I go walking up to him, and he the way he talks, you think I'm fucking crazy, don't you? And I said, yes, I do. And he said, well, you're right. but it was one of those things, right, where he was not going to stop until he got it done somehow. That's right.
And his first comeback at the track at HMP when he lost his leg, and the first time he went out on the track, he spun on the backstretch. I mean, because when he came on the track, he would rev it up and hit his brakes, rev it up, and he did it, and it overdid it, and he spun around, and I was thinking, oh no, good Lord, oh my gosh. But it didn't happen again. He got it under control, but that was the first thing out of the gate. It spun, and I was thinking, oh Lord, this is going to be a long practice session.
Absolutely.
In Mobile, he would call me and he'd say, hey, Gina, we're thinking about coming that way. Can I practice? I'm like, of course you can. And he would get out there and do it. But Rodney, I think he was very worried about, because of the learning curve of this, it was so sensitive. And he was very much an old school racer, meaning he felt the car with his hands and his feet and his butt and everything. And he would tell me that he would use his legs when he drove, and how he couldn't, something about balancing his weight in the seat. So everything was thrown off for him. And there, when he lost his both legs, and he didn't have both of them, I think that he was more afraid of the learning curve and hurting someone else, hurting someone else's car, damaging it. And that's really why he never, I think, stuck with it. I think that was more important to him, that he didn't cause problems for anyone or damage anyone else's stuff. It was just too much, I think, for him to overcome.
Yeah.
Even though let me tell you, he never quit giving his all and trying.
Yeah.
He really, and he'd come out there and he had the steering wheel and everything, but it just, that's a lot. That's a lot. Just coming back from that and making it back to the track is something that should be recognized for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Gina, you were with Greg a long time. What's your favorite car? Is it too hard to pick one? I mean, he's had a lot of cars over the years, but everybody's got a favorite Greg Davidson car.
San Antonio.
Mm-hmm.
That 96 is San Antonio. I don't know why. That's when I think of Greg, I think of the Pontiac. When someone posted a picture of it, and I hadn't seen it in a long time, and I was like, oh. And it's not because it was the best looking. It's because that's what I relate to when we were really traveling with him the most.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that was the thing. That's the other thing, Gina. He always, I mean, even with the final car that he had, that dude took a lot of pride in his cars, didn't he? I mean, they were always fast, but he wanted to have a badass looking race car, and he usually did. I mean, he usually did.
Yes, he did. And in the early years, he was very much a Pontiac guy, if you remember.
Mm-hmm.
He was like the only one with a Pontiac besides HB Bailey.
HB, yeah.
Yep, and that's where he got all of it from, or why he did it. I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
But what a character! It makes me miss him talking about him.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that red Firebird that he ran, I guess, in the early '90s. That red Firebird, that was a bad sumbitch. I remember he went to Long.
You know what?
Time, that was a bad sumbitch. It really was.
And it was pretty. It was pretty. You're right, Bobby. That was fine.
I remember as I got to know Greg more, I was talking to him one night and I asked him, I said, do you remember your orange car? And he said, nope. And I said, yeah, you did. You had a number 96, a Kendall motor oil car. I think you ran it once at Texas Whirl. And he's like, oh, them son of a bitches. They made me paint that car orange and they gave me a little bit of oil. So, typical Greg. I mean, typical Greg, right? But
oh yes.
So with let's talk about Miss Peggy, because it's like here's Greg Davidson. You have this, I mean, call him whatever you want to call him, showman, race car driver, just badass, and she's just with him the whole time. I mean, just kind of right there in the.
They were two peas in a pod.
Absolutely.
They sure were. I used to call them. Let's see, I got to think, either Peg and Greggy, or I would just flip it. But that they just, where one was, where Greg was, Peggy was. And Greg would get in the race car and go out and do what he had to do, practice or whatever it was, and get out. And if Peggy wanted something, he got it. We were just talking about Peggy one time was at the track, and she had this. He always bought Peggy nice jewelry. Yeah. Always. He spoiled her rotten. And she had this tennis bracelet that she lost. And she lost it at the track. And the whole pit crew was walking around in the field and all around looking for this bracelet. And my dad was like, what are y'all doing? We got to race. We don't have time to look for this bracelet. And so Greg came walking up and said, oh, I'll buy you another one. Let's go. We got to race. But she ran the show. Yeah. But that where one was, the other one was. That's a great love story for sure. Mm-hmm. And they just went together like peanut butter and jelly. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's just how they were.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So Gina, my wife asked me, she says, what's the one thing that Greg Davidson, like, what's the one thing you think about? And I'm like, well, we have lots of stories and all of that. But the thing to me that I think about now, after thinking about it for a couple of days since I found out that he passed, is I think that Greg has a unique legacy in that he helped so many people that he never took credit for helping. It's because he just he passed on that next generation to the next generation of racers. Bruce Wright told the story about how he was helping Jake, but there's so many people that he helped. He helped me when I first got started in the media business, working with USRA, telling me different stories and introducing me to people and stuff like that. So I think that he helped more people than what people know, just because he didn't do it for the publicity. He didn't do it.
Right.
He didn't do it for all the handshakes and the attaboys and the pats on the back. He did it because he genuinely loved what he did, and he passed that along to a lot of people. And I think the world has been a better place, especially the racing world, because Greg Davidson's been in it.
100%. There's a balance in racing, and you need people like Greg and around to keep that balance healthy, that shares information. And because not a lot of people do that. And I mean, he helped Bo and Mason. We had a car that was dialed way out. It was just bad. And he said, bring it to the shop. So Bo took it to the shop, and he showed Bo how to square the car up.
Mhm.
And he said, that's the most important thing you have to do, is square the car up. And Bo was telling me the other night that that is probably the single most important thing that he learned, is to how to take the car back and get it square to start over, or to get it, get it straight. And that was just Greg. He did the same thing for me whenever I took over Houston. I had never ran a racetrack. I've been around it my whole life, but he helped me with advice. He backed me up. He talked about me. He did anything I needed. He did. And if there was something that I wasn't doing right, or maybe he would do differently, he would tell me in a way, that made me appreciate it. And Bobby, you are spot on. We don't even know how many people he helped. So many that I can't even imagine, and not just in Texas, other places, what all he did. But that was just Greg. He had a passion for racing, like that is not as abundant anymore. And that's what he lived for. That is what he lived for.
Yeah, you know that he really was a guy where if he liked and cared about you, he would. I mean, because I remember the more that I got to know him, just in conversations that we would have on this show and in private, I could go like rob a bank, and that dude would have stood up and said that I was just an outstanding citizen. Yeah, because he just, I mean, if he cared about you, I remember him, I would hear him tell people where he's like, oh, that guy over there, that's the announcer, whatever. And it was like, and I remember him telling people, you should have seen him when he raced. You should have seen him when he raced. And I know Greg never saw me race or never paid attention probably, but it was like, this dude would sell you as such a, and people were like, oh, Greg Davidson says you're a good guy. I'm like, well, that's a compliment, because he did. And lastly so let's talk about here. I mean, because now Chris, he's kind of been carrying the torch there for a little bit as the racer. Now with Chris has done what Greg has done. He's carried on Davidson Electric, and now Chris has elevated their racing team to places that that this is just going to reinvigorate Chris to do really.
He gives back just like his dad. He gives back just like his dad.
Doesn't he? It's crazy. Yes. It's crazy. I remember in our time in Houston when it was like, hey, you would tell me, hey, Chris did this or Chris did that. But we can't talk about it. He doesn't want anybody to know.
Yeah, that's just how he is. Chris and Heather both are reserved. They're not. Greg had all the personality. And so they just would just kind of sit back and take it all in. And but they took in all the goodness that was available to them, and both of them are outstanding individuals. And I'm so proud to have known them my whole life, and proud to call them friends still to this day. Yeah. Peggy too. It just it's a when my dad passed, when Mike Crawford, my stepdad, passed, the first time I saw Greg after the funeral, it had been, I want to say, about a month or two. It was like a warmth. That it was like seeing my dad or feeling my dad again. And it's just, that just is what you get when you're with people at the racetrack for so long. They just become part of you, and you feel it, and that is so special, to be able to have known and been a part of their lives, or all of us to have been a part of each other's lives. I mean, my mom and Peggy, still talk all the time. And it's just, I feel very privileged to have seen, been a part of the stories and witnessed them, and just to have been around all of them. Because when you go racing all the time, the only kids you see are the ones at the racetrack, and you're mostly around adults all the time. So Greg was just fun to be around.
Well, it's like Greg Davidson is one of the many racers that I learned some of my great manners and mannerisms from, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
Yes.
You know what's funny, and I know I don't want to run out of time, but
That's okay.
being a child, I would be with, Larry Child. I would be with my Child family one weekend, and Greg and Dad, Greg and Jerry were fantastic friends, very close. But my Uncle Jerry, but my dad, not so much, And so I would be with the Child family, and they would not like the Crawford racing, or not like Greg Davidson. And then the next weekend I would be at home with my mom and the Crawfords and around the Davidsons. And so I would hear a lot about, Larry Child, not good stuff.
Yeah.
Or when during the race, if they were getting at it on the track, I would be hearing the negative. And Greg always would be so uncomfortable and apologize when people would say something, and I'd be standing there. He was very aware of it. And, I got racing. I mean, heck, I read about Larry Shaw, my dad, on the bathroom wall at Big H.
Yeah.
There was always someone had something to say about him. But that's how it is when you're a competitor that wins a lot. But he always made sure that I felt comfortable and sorry for what they say. And I'm like, Greg, it never bothered me. But it was a weird thing growing up and seeing that, each weekend was different. Whoever I was with, I would be like, oh, please don't get in on the track. Please don't touch each other. Please.
Yeah. I imagine that was tough.
Yes, it was different, but I will miss him for sure. And there's I can't even think of someone that is like him. He was truly one of a kind, and was one of those people that walks in a room and has everybody's attention,
Mm-hmm.
and could keep everybody's attention, and everybody would have a smile on their face.
Yeah.
Yeah. When they're listening to him.
Yeah. And Gina, I'll let you tell us, again, thanks for joining us on the road. Celebration of life. I know obviously when these things happen, folks are always, what are arrangements and so forth and so on. You actually have that date. I think you sent it to me, but I was kind of holding off. I'd rather you pass that on.
Well,
it's closer to
August 16th is what my mom told me. Okay. August 16th, and where it's I'm not sure the name of the place, but I'm sure Heather will post it or has posted it. Or Christopher, one of them. So, but it is August 16th. And I think it's going to be a wonderful celebration. I cannot wait to hear the stories and see people. Greg would love it.
Yeah.
He would love everybody getting together and talking about racing and telling stories.
It's going to be off the hook. I guarantee you.
Yeah. Well, we'll have people in heaven sitting around listening to us. Yeah, I guarantee that. My Uncle Jerry, Dad, they're all up there racing, and they'll be there too. So I'm excited to be there.
And let's be very candid here, Gina. We're going to have people underground also looking up at us. We're going to have people in hell watching us, listening to all that.
Yeah, you never know. I don't know.
That's kind of that crowd. Anyway, Gina, thanks for the time. It's been so fun talking about this again. Like we said, this is meant to be more upbeat. We're sad, but we're going to celebrate for a little while the greatness it was. The great one, the Texas legend, Greg Davidson.
That's right, Texas legend. You're right. Thank you, guys. Absolutely. Thank y'all for doing this.
Absolutely. Look forward to seeing you soon, girl.
All right, Ronnie. Bye, Bobby.
Yeah.
See you, Gina.
Love you, girl. Be safe.
All right, will do.
You
Bye-bye.
bet. You bet. There she goes, Gina Child Knowles. Yeah, right in the middle of all that. And imagine that, an intertwined family in racing. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that actually happened. Man, rare occasion. Again, our Greg Davidson tribute show talking about the great one that was Texas legend, Greg Davidson, about to bring on another special friend that has followed Greg Davidson for a long time, our man Chuck Licata. But we told you were going to hear from Greg Davidson tonight. And one of the questions that we asked Greg Davidson many years ago was, Greg, who was your biggest rival back in the day? Here's what Greg told us on the Revved Up Sports Show.
Me and John Kelly had magnets on our car. One week he's faster than me, and this week I'm not really as good as him, and went up and everything, but nothing ever got out of hand or anything.
Right.
And John and his family, that's what racing was true about. They built their own cars. They were running a Ford, which was harder for them.
Yep.
Even though they made more power.
Yeah.
But still, they the family deal was really cool. And, me and John go back
Sure.
a long ways. In fact, I was there at Kyle when he ran the last race he ran.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That's awesome.
that was a good memory for me there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, cool rivalries, man. Those guys were so fast at San Antonio.
Yeah, so fast.
These guys were absolutely just blazing around that half mile, and hearing Greg talk about that place will really get you fired up, because a lot of laps going around there. And shoot, here's a guy that called a lot of laps around that place. Not only that place, but countless places around the state of Texas. Like, look at that, still looking sharp as ever.
Thank you, guys.
First time
I appreciate that.
Sports show. It is our
I
man.
appreciate that. By the way, real quick, just for you guys, there's a little memento from back in the day that I had.
Oh, look at that. Coming with show props.
Go ahead. Just go ahead and identify, besides me, identify the people in this photo right there.
Oh, man, I can't see it.
It's like Colt for sure.
Yes.
And then I can't tell the other guys. I can't tell
Jim somebody, Bobby. It was when you and I were announcing Jim.
Oh, Jim Tradow, probably
there
the
you go.
ASA thing.
Yeah. And then that's the back of Brian Calloway on that one. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
So, speaking of that, Chuck, with all that, you're the one that we need to get on here, because like at that, to talk about Thunder Hill, because it was like I reached out, I found Calloway. You know how we are as journalists, we stalk people and we find them. And he's like, I'll talk about it someday, but we've never been able to.
He doesn't like talking about it. I saw him at Cedar Park Body and Frame back in the day after the track had closed. And he said, you know what? He says, it's great memories. He said, but I really don't want to relive it anymore. I've moved on. It's time to move on with life. So a little disappointing. Here's another fun one that I don't have a picture of him. Bobby, who was our DJ back in the day? The guy who played the music and stuff for us. And Rodney, I'm sure you know him too.
John.
Yeah, John Molise. Yeah.
No, before him. Before John.
Geez, I don't remember.
The guy that was with Nash Chevrolet.
Oh, I know. I remember that guy. He would come to the pits because we were competing at the. My God, what was that dude's name?
Do you remember Gary Cozart?
I remember Gary Cozart. Yeah.
Okay. Long story short, I moved to Granbury, which is 25 miles southwest of Fort Worth, and I work for the city of Granbury now doing video. In 2021, 2022, we got a new airport. We have a regional airport, which now has a mile-long runway, so we can take the corporate jets and stuff. And they appoint a new administrator, Gary Cozart.
Are you
kidding?
He's the
airport administrator. Honest to God, I hadn't seen him since we had worked back at Thunder Hill. And he's up here now, and he's doing a tremendous job. And like you guys, looks the same as back in the day. So, yeah, but he's right here. Pity the people when I'm out shooting a video or at the airport. He breaks into those stories, man. He goes right into the Thunder Hill stories and everything. So it's a lot of fun. It's great to be on with you guys, by the way.
Yeah, I want to, one of the, we've been talking about the shows and the connections and all of that you have with the racing and with us back in the day, way back in the beginning of time now, feels like after 25 years. So it's good to get you on and get the take, not only on Greg, but we'll get your take on, other stuff if the time permits it. But it's good to have you on, dude. Long time no see. You've been kind of quiet on social media, but. It's
been too long, and we've been blessed. I've got a streaming company now. We had done some races back at Thunder Hill, and now we're doing Division III colleges and high school and stuff, which is great. And as we kind of like come together in the brotherhood of announcing, back when Thunder Hill opened in '98, I was maybe up for assistant track announcer the day it opened, and then the guy who was supposed to show up, and it wasn't Big Jim. I never found out from Callaway who was supposed to announce that day, but it wasn't Big Jim. But whoever it was didn't show up. So Callaway looks at me and says, "All right, well, go ahead and announce tonight, but don't get comfortable." Because he told me later, he said he had no faith in me. But what made it work, and you guys can identify with this too, I had talked to who I consider the legend in local track announcing, Trey Ware. I talked to him for a week, and just got some tips and stuff. And of course, I announced back in San Antonio in '99. But it's really cool to be on with you guys because it brings together that. And I think about Trey, and there was just there was that little kinship, a brotherhood with the racetrack announcers. And the one thing that I love the most about the job, yes, working with you guys was great too, okay? But the one thing I loved about the job was getting there early and going in the pits and finding out how the drivers were feeling, getting to socialize with the drivers and get to know them as people, You guys both drive. Well, Bobby tried to drive, but anyway.
I tried.
But, it was so great. That was such valuable time. And when the big guns were in town, I'd immediately go to the 96 pit because I knew there's no way he'd have time for me. Once we were 15, 20 minutes in, everybody's going to the 96 pit. Everybody's walking in. Some guys are looking for help. Some guys are looking for parts or something like that, and everybody, he was just this, he was just this draw, if you will. And everybody wanted to go and talk to Greg. And of course, the local drivers who didn't, tour, if you will, with Greg and those cars, they were the first ones that wanted to go and talk to him. He was just, I think the word legend gets used a little bit too much. He was a true legend. There's no doubt about it. Among drivers, he was a true legend.
And isn't that the thing, Chuck, with because doing the job that we do or have done, at whatever point, there are always people that come out on the track, and when Davidson came out, you could always kind of hone in on him and kind of keep an eye on that dude because he's going to do something. Up at the front, it may be kind of lackluster, it may suck, but you follow that dude because I was talking earlier, the dude had balls of steel. He was always going to be the fastest car on the track, and he would not hesitate to stick the nose of that car. Anyway, you could make a show out of calling that dude with what he was doing. Well,
and to me, he was the guy to beat. This was the face of his class.
Yep.
David Snookhouse back in the day and James Reeder back in the day. These were the guys to beat, And I remember talking to Jeff Pollard and Ian Webster and those guys. And it was the 96. There's no question that everybody was out to find a way, or at least try to find a way, to beat the 96. And the funny thing was, and of course, you guys know what it was like in the pits and, trash talking, if you will. They would trash him and, oh man, I got to beat the old man. And, how does he keep doing this crap and whatever, and it's like, man, I hope he gets caught at Tech or whatever. But man, when the racing was over and we're all hanging out and grabbing beers, he's everybody's best friend.
Yeah,
he and his family. There's no question. And I'll give you the one real Greg Davidson story I have is one time we were he had won, of course, he had won the race, no shock there. And we'd done the on-track interview, okay, and we finished up, and it was the last race of the night, so everybody was done. And I turned to him, I said, by the way, I said, you must really enjoy this winning thing. He looks at me, and, Rodney did a great impersonation earlier in the show of Greg's voice, I heard, so I don't even try to do it, right?
Yeah.
But in true Greg Davidson form, he looks at me and says, Chuck, he said, ain't got nothing to do with me. He says, and he points to his crew and his family. He says, I do it for them because they work too freaking hard in the week for my sorry ass to finish second. you know?
Mm-hmm.
And even in winning, it wasn't about him. It was about everybody around him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, that was one of those moments that you just never forget, and you guys have them as announcers too. It's just that moment that you never forget because you realize, and let's face it, racing is an ego business. The first couple of years I was track announcer, I felt stupid because I thought, wow, this is all about me. But then, Gary Cozart and John Melise and, Bobby and Roddy, and it becomes this team factor, and it's such a great feeling. And there's Greg Davidson, the king of the hill, no question.
All the time.
And when you ask about him about racing, it's not about him. It's about his family and his supporters and his pit crew.
Well said.
He's got to win for them because, again, they worked too hard for his sorry ass to finish second.
That's right. That's right.
I remember when I first got started doing the PR stuff and all of that. I remember Greg was, because I knew those guys growing up, watching them as a fan and as a kid growing up in racing. Was when I got to know him, on the PR side and get to do interviews, in-depth interviews with him and all of that. He was so welcoming to me. I guess because he found out that I've been following it since I was a kid and was telling him stories about Longhorn. And I remember when you did this at Longhorn. I remember when you did this at San Antonio. I remember when you flipped in Corpus. Telling him all those stories, and it's like,
I'm sure he likes that.
Well, but he kept opening up, and he became one of my go-to guys. And I'm like, hey, Greg, can you tell me how to get a hold of so and so, or do you know this guy? Is he worth a good interview or something like that? I'd bounce an idea off of him. He says, well, then you can do that. Yeah, you can interview that guy. I want you to try this guy. This is how you get a hold of this guy. And so it was the overwhelming support that he gave you that you came to know and love. When you could ask. I mean, he knew everybody. And everybody knew of him, so it was always cool, and it was refreshing for me, and it was rewarding for me to get to know him that way and get to know all the other people kind of through Greg. So,
yeah, and the funny thing was, I think, and you guys can tell me too, because you guys were with him later after I had left. Nope, he didn't have to go anywhere. He didn't need to go visit anybody else. Everybody came to him. Everybody was coming to the 96, and of course, it's the great family had Gina on. Oh my God, it was so great just to hear Gina's voice again, but it was he did everything he could, give you the shirt off the back, the whole deal. Roddy called him the racing bad boy. No question. He fits that bill. Yeah. But he just, he would talk about anything you wanted to talk about. And even on race day, if Bobby had a need or something, I'm sure he'd take care of it. He was just, the consummate race guy, And I was so sad to hear. I kind of followed along with you guys, when he lost the legs and everything. I just, oh man, this is just so. But there he was, didn't stop him, and that's how he is. To his legacy, that's how he is. Nothing stopped him.
And Chuck, kind of in those days when you were kind of a little bit later, maybe into the early, let's say late 90s into the early 2000s and stuff, because like you were there at THR, but then like when TSRS came about, I mean, there was traveling there, whether it was Corpus
right.
or San Antonio and Houston. And a lot of times the late models were a part of that, with Davidson and Romco and all that. Kind of talk about all that, man. You guys had one hell of a gig back in those days, because it was just like traveling. It was just like this traveling thing that was going from track to track, and the racing was great. The personalities were unbelievable, and the parties with like Greg Davidson just made them, some of the best times we've ever had around here, for crying out loud.
Well, and as you guys know, you can't talk about the parties. That, that's got to stay off the record, because there's just too much stuff that goes on. But it was so amazing. It really was. And it was a family, We talked about, and we visited, and you guys have done race coverage at TMS, and so have I. But it's just, it was like we were riding on a dream, It was like, it might as well have been NASCAR, because everybody was out for everybody. And, again, on the racetrack, try to win it on the first lap, bump everybody, get them the hell out of my way. But man, off the track, it was everybody doing stuff for everything. I remember one time, and I can't remember who, somebody gave up their car for another guy because he was in the points chase. Mm-hmm. And his car was just, it ran back practice and heat laps. And gosh, I wish I could remember that. Somebody gave up their ride so this guy could get out there and he finished third. And the car wasn't that good that day, but he finished third. And it just, it was just so amazing. The family of racing back then was it was unstoppable. And it's unbelievable. And, sitting here talking about, kind of like Gina said, I feel like I'm reliving this stuff. Same thing with you guys, and I know you've got the great stories too. It's just, when you think about that classic car and you think about the touring series, 96 was the pinnacle. He was the man to beat. But man, oh man, he was as gracious as anybody.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It really was. It was so great, growing up as a kid, because everybody had their favorite drivers amongst myself and my family friends. I like Slick because he drove a Ford, and I was a Ford guy. My dad was or my parents were David Umscheid fans. So my best friend growing up, their last name was Davidson, so they pulled for Greg, and then had another buddy who claimed he was Irish and pulled for John Kelly. Then you had one random guy like I like Jay Watson, and then
oh my god,
you had so many. Just had so many different fans back in the day that it was just like, they would put on one hell of a show. You knew when they were coming to town that was the show. And Rodney's idea of the pinnacle is about 4 or 5 years sooner than mine, just due to the age difference. Like
Older.
from the late 80s to the early 90s, to me, that was the pinnacle of super late model racing with all those guys running TIDA. And then Rodney remembers back in the Texas World Speedway, Texas Race of Champion days that I didn't get to be a part of because I wasn't old enough and wasn't into the sport at that time. That's when Greg would excel at that. Like Shane said, Greg was always trying. I remember the E-Pro car, and then he had that one badass perimeter total offset car with the 4-point cage right around him. I remember that was a big story. But he was always trying something new to try to get faster and better. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, and I'm with Gina. The Black Pontiac, the 96. That's it. To us, that's Greg Davidson, no question. And it's funny you mentioned the orange car because I was thinking, oh my God, did he do that?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, he did. Son of a gun.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm going to let you guys go because I know there's a lot of people that want to share it. I'm going to leave it with this. Bobby, you just mentioned, you're growing up with racing. That's what made you a tremendous announcer. I got so lucky when you and I hooked up at Tim, and you're talking about this stuff, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I need to shut up and just let this guy talk because he's talking about, Longhorn stuff. And Rodney, you being a driver, you being able to relate to the fans, talking about the stuff that's going on in the car and stuff. So it made it great too, and Trey Ware, who is, kind of my mentor and my icon of local stock car racing. I mean, he's the best. There's no doubt to me. And I was very fortunate that I got to learn from him.
How haven't you found a track up there? What's the closest racetrack to you?
TMS.
TMS,
right?
But yeah. Well, there's dirt tracks. There's
there's a couple. Maybe someday, but the work is keeping me busy right now. But after talking to you guys, I might have to get back into it.
Chuck, that's always a funny thing where as I've gotten into this more to where people are like, oh my God, that getting to call races and all that you must be breaking the bank, right? I'm like, oh yeah, that's why I do it. It's the money.
Yeah. That tells you they know absolutely nothing about what we do.
Yeah. Same thing like
no question.
Like with football.
And I will say this: so many, when the Lord comes down and takes me and probably delivers me down south with the other racers that you said were looking up, watching the show. I'll always remember just being in the flag stand at Thunder Hill. That was my favorite place. Was being in the flag stand at Thunder Hill and calling the races. That was way too much fun.
You were the one that changed all of this because
I did.
You had the PA guys, which there still are some, and they do a really good job of doing PA. But you were the one where it was like, in the flag stand, and then you're over there running around and doing all this different shit. And it was like you changed the landscape, man. And that's I'm ever grateful because I would have never thought of doing that. What's a wireless mic?
Well, thank God for those, right? Yeah, and it was real simple. When they put me behind the behind the glass, I said, "This isn't how you call You got to be out with the fans. You got to be able to gauge their interest, and you can feel the excitement. And when you say, as they're about to start the race, you say, "Let's go racing," and it's just like, whoa, that's what it's all about. And thank you for saying that, because I know I did, but it was just look at the guys that came with me and after me.
Yeah.
You guys have taken it up just another notch or two.
Well, I'm younger than you, so I could run around. I think that's what it.
Wow. And how many championships did you win driving?
There you go, right there. There you go. I'm the Mark Martin. I wish I was Mark Martin.
No, man. I was thinking Jerry Nadeau, but okay, Mark Martin.
Yeah,
okay.
more like that. More like that. You ask some people, and they say I'm Daniel Suarez. So there you go. But good stuff. Chuck, man, this has been fun. We've got to do this more often, man.
Let's do this again for sure. It was great to be with you guys. It really was. And like I said, and people watching can probably tell there's a little bit, but the three of us announcers, man, there was just a feeling that you just can't get anywhere else. And that's kind of how I look at Greg. When he was at the track, he brought a feeling, and he brought a sense of community, and he brought the racing that just nobody else could bring.
He's a showman. He really was.
Absolutely.
And he knew it too. He knew how to do it.
He really
yeah.
He really
exactly.
Great
Thanks,
stuff.
guys.
Chuck, take care, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Right.
Thanks, Chuck. See you.
There he goes, the great Chuck Licata. And he did, man. He called a lot of. I remember Chuck Licata years ago, like on TV as a sports broadcast.
San Antonio,
yeah, like KMOL or whatever WOEI is now. I remember that dude. But he got to call a lot of really badass super late model races that Greg was a part of.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. I mean, like I said, I remember as a kid, like just going and we talked to him, talk about John. Heard Greg talk about John Kelly. Him and John Kelly were great. Slick was great. David was great. Like they were all just they knew how to play the game, right? When I say game, I mean they knew how to race on the racetrack. They knew how to race each other. And then they knew how to party after the racetrack, but they knew what to do with the fans. They knew the fans came first.
Yeah.
Whether they were on the racetrack thanking the fans during the interview, they would always make time to sign autographs for the kids. It didn't matter if Greg had seen me one time or 100 times. Every time I walk up to a different track asking for an autograph, he'd say, "Here's your autograph. Don't you have the ones from Longhorn?" Or we'd be at San Antonio. He's like, "I'm just getting as many as I can because you guys are awesome."
Yeah. And that was the thing where I think when you really think about to where when folks talk about that we're lost in the past, and we're lost in the past because I think all of us, we just think back to when we were younger, because it's being a young kid. This is when this stuff gets ingrained in you. And I do. I mean, I think back to I remember, the first time I got to sit in a race car. I mean, the first time it ever happened was Marianne Nauman's dad, Jake Wallace. We were at Austin, and Jerry Stanley had a little autograph Howard Riethmeyer cars, and they sold the last one, and I didn't get to have one. I was crying. I was throwing a shit fit. And the park next to the Riethmeyer Stanley team was Jake Wallace, and Jake Wallace came and got me and put me in his car. Big Jake put me in his car, and I can smell it as I'm telling the story. I can smell the rubber. I can smell the fuel, and those are the things you remember. And those drivers, they just did it a hell of a lot different back then. When we talk about Greg being a showman, it's really weird when you think about Greg, because he knew it, but he didn't overdo it. Where a lot of guys, it just happened. It just happened when he did it. And like Chuck was saying, and like Gina was saying, this really was all for his team. I mean, he did what he did, but it was all about the people that supported him and the people that came out to watch him and support him each and every race.
Yeah, he's another one of those guys that forgot. He's going to forget more about racing than I'll ever know. So
yeah, no, that's the thing, and that's why we celebrate him, because it really was, and he became so special to us, because it was with the comeback, and I was kind of told on the DL. Like Gina said, that it was really hard for him, as he was trying to, because he wanted to race. And, obviously when you lose a limb, it's like, okay, the thing that I love to do, I mean, how do I do this when I'm missing a limb? But he was dead set on doing this. And I was told kind of in private, and I'll say this, that when he came on and talked to us, it reinvigorated him, because he was working on this. He wasn't sure that he could do it, but it just took him to another level, telling stories. And like you always say, realizing that people still gave a shit, still gave a shit and wanted to hear from him. And I think that's what we need to do more for these guys that have done, and ladies that have done this for so long, because we do want to hear these stories, and it's amazing to hear them.
Yeah, no, telling the stories has been the most fun part of this show. We've got to do a lot of cool things between this and the horn, and we go to racetracks and we meet people and we interview drivers. But it's one thing to interview them. It's another thing to have them and help them tell their stories, whether it's Slick Yeomans, Greg Davidson, Freddie Fryer. The list goes on and on and on about the people that just want to tell their stories. And a lot of times they're shy. You would think some of these larger than life figures that we grew up idolizing as kids, you'd be surprised that these larger than life figures were shy because they just didn't know. Like, I haven't been in a race car in 10 years. So tell me about what it was like 20 years ago. Because people still care. I mean, that's the reason we're doing a Greg Davidson tribute show tonight, is because people still care. You saw, I mean, granted, we've got, I think you and I have more mutual friends in racing than my wife and my sister have total friends combined. We got like 800 something mutual friends, and they're all racers, and they were all posting about Greg Davidson. Every one of them. We lost the legend. We lost the great one. We lost the good one. All of that stuff over the course of the last week. And it's, and it's warranted because Greg's a good guy, and we'll be saying the same thing with some of the other Texas legends go to their high point place. It's going to be the same thing. But right now, the focus is on Greg, as it should be.
Yeah. And it really was one of those things to where, I mean, like mentioned right there, he was dead set on getting back, and he did, and he worked, and kind of, because I was lucky that, like Gina and I were talking about, where I was kind of on the intel there with a lot of that, to where I would hear, well, Greg tried this, but it didn't happen. Or I'd hear something from Chris or from Heather, and it was like, it didn't matter whatever obstacle there was going to be. He was still going to try to overcome it. I mean, would he overcome it? I don't know, but he wasn't going to fucking quit. I mean, until he gave it everything that he had. And I think that was just, he just wanted to do this as long as he could. And he did it well, and he did it in a lot of, we're talking about late model stuff. We're talking about his time. Obviously that's where we know, most of us know Greg, from, local tracks. And then later, another story that we had right here, and I'm going to go in here and find this here as we go to the graphic here. I'll have to make sure that I find the right one. There's a photo right there. So that is that's at San Antonio Raceway, Highway 16. That's at Highway 16 back in those days. And again, this is one that I got right away from another one of our great friends, Joe Dan Bailey, that went on to do amazing things, in NASCAR circles, and then, later with Toyota. So Joe Dan Bailey sends me this over while I'm still over in Mexico, and it says, Greg was my next door neighbor growing up. His dad's electric company, which we've been talking about, it was right next to their house on Alameda Road, Alameda School Road. HB Bailey always ran number 36. When he would take a second car, he would run the 96. Greg was helping him as a kid before Greg started racing at Meyer Speedway. I believe that's where the 96 came from, which I kind of thought that maybe that's where it came from. So answering that right there, that makes sense. Joe Dan goes on to say, I traveled with him and Peggy in the early 80s at the All Pro Tour. I mean, remember that, Bobby? He went out and he ran All Pro, going to Mobile, Birmingham, and Macon, those type of tracks. The racing was fun. The travel was better. I think we've heard that a couple of times tonight. It was a dually that would vapor lock in the heat, especially going to San Antonio. Yeah, that's a little bit of a trek right there. Had a lot of good stories, good and bad, in that truck. A couple of years ago, I stopped by to see him. He was glad to see me, but immediately wanted to play a trick on his daughter, Heather, with a prank phone call. No way, right? And they did that. And here's the photo right here. He was my first win away from my dad's team, and showed me this is a way to make a living and a career. And this is a guy that we're talking about, Joe Dan Bailey, that we've heard from here, with the ties to HB Bailey right there. Joe Dan Bailey went on and did amazing things as a NASCAR executive. And it all started with Greg Davidson. And there's a photo at Highway 16. Tell you, man, what an impact. What an impact. It's crazy.
It's the ones that we don't know that we've had the impact for. So
I know. totally crazy that that has happened, and that's exactly what he did. Chuck checking in right there. Mike Knotts got to see. Yeah, Trey. Yeah, Trey Ware. I mean, I'm sure Trey Ware called Greg Davidson races at some point, because that's how far back this thing goes. But here's another good one from our lady Jennifer. Not only do I remember growing up watching Greg and John competitors, yeah. I mean, the families, I mean, they always were. I mean, these guys, they always took the time where it was, no matter what happened on the track, you would go down there. And that was one of the things that my dad always instilled in me, to where I've told a story where it's like, kids would come walking up, good, bad, and different, whatever happened on the track. A kid comes walking up. He's like, you put that damn beer down and you go over there and you talk to that kid, because that was you. That was you. And a lot of that I learned also from these guys, because that's exactly what they did.
That's exactly how they did it.
So talking about those late model days, Greg also did some other stuff. There was a story of when the 1993 ARCA Winston West shootout at Texas World Speedway that Greg Davidson was a part of in a flat black number 96. He told us on the Revved Up Sports Show, he went out and ran on the super speedway on the big oval. He told us about that day, and Greg Davidson will remain infamous in that race, in the story of that race, for one reason. Here's what Greg told us.
Cup Series race there, and I bought one of Terry Labonte's old cars, and we put our short track motor in it. But back then, Earnhardt, Bill Waltrip, Schrader, all of them were there.
93.
We qualified 11th, first round, and then about third lap, going down the front straightaway, I saw the hood all of a sudden start down, all of a sudden it's just gone.
Yeah.
It just, where'd my hood go?
Yeah.
And we got around track. I found out later, somebody made a picture that it damn near hit one of the ESPN camera guys that was up right outside the wall going into one.
Yep.
Getting the picture up, but actually he had to move so it wouldn't hit him. So I just prayed that I was very lucky how that ended.
There was a brand new Chevrolet Lumina parked there. I remember the broadcast. They said, it looks like that hood almost hit that brand new Lumina and the cameraman. It was close, very close.
What had happened is I'd only been out there in single car runs and racing everything. The first time that I actually got in the draft with somebody was the race. And so as we were going on first lap, I was following Rick Corelli was there also. And I was following him, and all of a sudden I see the hood just vibrating and flapping, and I said, oh, damn. So I pulled out from behind him, and it quit doing it. But he was pulling away, so I had to move back over and get back behind him. And, they put rubber hose on the hood pins, and that way when you push down the hood, you got pressure behind it, and you put your pin in, so it's already in a pressure area. And I didn't realize that back then.
Yeah.
See, there's Greg the showman. He didn't give a shit about that cameraman. He just kept going. He never slowed down. I remember that race. You know who also was in that race?
Who?
A little bit of trivia. Johnny Walker.
Really?
Johnny Walker in the 72 car. He came out of turn 4. It kind of got loose a little bit. It had rained so horribly that weekend there at TWS, and the one thing that they never fixed there was the parking and drainage situation. Spun out of turn 4 and he got stuck in the drop off right there at turn 4. But you had Greg Davidson, and back then in that race they called him John Walker. But two of those dudes in that race. A little trivia there from the old noggin. But Greg, I mean, he would do any. You remember he told us he went out and ran the what was that thing called where you just haul ass? Remember they took that late.
It wasn't it was the Texas Mile?
Maybe that's what it was.
Maybe that's what it was. I know I've seen pictures of that late model that he put a special motor in to do the Texas Mile in one of his silver Pontiacs.
Yeah. He went out and did that and just like flew. And I don't know how that car didn't fall apart because he went really, really fast.
Yeah. That car. I mean, he was super, super fast. But yeah, that I don't know. He man, he just would always go wide open. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, that was the thing. I mean, he just really didn't know any different, and that was there were a couple of guys where being kind of me more based here, or I had the Austin and San Antonio guys that I was kind of more in tune with, but it was like because it was like when we talk about Freddie Fryer, it's like, okay, if Fryer's there, you know what's going to happen. It was kind of one of those things with back in those days when the late models were around, to where it's like, okay, if Greg Davidson came from Houston, it's like, oh shit. And Charlie Cohen came from Grand Prairie, and J.D. Hughes from Sundown, and Bob Bolin, R.I.P. as well. God, I hate that we're talking about all these people and they're gone. It's like, well, Charlie Cohen too. It's like, God, man, these guys, they just flat-footed. They just went really, really fast. Really fast
in cars that are not near as safe and nice as what we have today either.
And I'm telling you that's why, when people are like, what's your heart on with the outlaw super stocks or whatever, it's like they look like the cars that these guys ran. I mean, just some of these pictures that we're pulling up right here. I mean, like there's one of the Pontiacs, and I'm not sure if that's the one Gina's talking about. That may be an IROC. I don't know if that was actually a Pontiac. Here's Greg, and this was 85 or 86. Another really fast race car right there. Here's one of the ones that you're talking about.
Yeah, that one. E-Pro custom chassis, man. That car was badass.
Dang, look at that thing right there, man. And this, the Joe Dan's picture, that this may be kind of like one of the old Outlaws. Doesn't quite have the big ass like the Outlaws do now, but I mean that one there, and boom, there's what he ran till the end. And that's a thing that it was the Texas Smile. Thank you, Jake. The thing with Greg, I always thought it would have been really easy for him to, with the challenges that he had, to, I mean, maybe try a different class, something maybe not quite as tough, but nope, was not going to do anything different. What was Greg going to do?
Hey, I just found a way to get another legend guest on.
Who's that? How's that?
Not with just Shane. We've been trying to get Shane to come on since we started the show. He still talks to J.D. Hughes.
That I would love to talk to J.D.
That would be fun. Yeah, I'm sure he's got a Greg Davidson story or two.
Yeah. Let's get the hookup right there. I would love to talk to the purple number 41. I saw somebody posted. It was posted a long time ago. I think Cody Beto actually posted a race in '86 that we went to at Corpus. That Slick was in Jim Palace's number 4 in Old Thumper in that the Grabber Blue number 4, and Slick just dominated him that weekend that we were down there. But looking at the list of drivers that were in that race, you had JD that came down. You had Greg. It's just an unbelievable list that raced at Corpus that weekend. And that was one hell of a race. That and the 85 season opener at San Antonio, where he was talking about Corelli. Corelli came down for that race from Colorado. And it was just a who's who of races back then. And Greg Davidson right in the middle of that one too. And I think that Greg, that was in this car. I think it was that year in 1985. Really good stuff. Quick pause. Going to come back and talk a little bit of NASCAR. Got a couple of more sound bites from Greg Davidson. And I promise you want to stick around for these. Stick around for these. That's coming up. It is a Texas legend, Greg Davidson tribute show tonight, live at the Revved Up Sports Show.
Welcome to the My Race Pass app, the #1 app for motorsports fans. We want to make sure you get the most out of your My Race Pass app experience. With your new free account, you can use the My Race Pass app to see race day information, including event entries and official lineups and results for over 600 organizations across North America. You can also see track information and purchase online event tickets for select tracks. With your free account, you can also search for a track or series on the My Race Pass app and favorite their profile to receive news and race day notifications on your mobile device. To see more information and to see which app subscription is best for you, be sure to visit getmrpapp.com. My Race Pass, the ultimate racing resource.
Hey, I'm Ross Chastain, and you're watching Racing America.
There you go. Hashtag Real Race Talk, the Revved Up Sports Show. Bobby Chaffee, Rodney Rodriguez, all of you guys. Thank you for joining us on this very special Wednesday. We'll be back on Tuesday next week. Just some logistical stuff that we had to get done this week. So, kind of the weekend review that we always do. High limits, man, they hurt a lot of drivers.
They sure did, didn't they? That one wreck I sent you, a Brad Sweet, right there next to the berm. Bam! That looked like that hurt. And hell, he was one of the lucky ones.
Yeah, that was. I mean, every time that I would look around, because I didn't have a lot of access to a lot of the I mean, you know, the stuff that I typically watch while we were in Mexico. But it was like with X, every time that I looked around, it's somebody getting hurt. I'm like, man, what the hell's going on right here? So yeah, I'm glad that everybody's okay there. And I guess we had a little bit of a dust up there with Kyle Larson and who was that he was all David Gravel. Yeah. So well, I mean, that's good for business, I think.
Well, good for instance, they're both in different sanctioning, so that helps out a little bit too. Helps out the tabloids, if you will. Hey, I figured out a way for people to go and look at the old racing pictures if they're somewhat new to the area and like to find them. An archive that's very near and dear to both our hearts. LoneStarSpeedZone.com.
Oh, yeah, how about that? It's free. You can sign up and get a free account on that thing. You just jump on there, and I mean, if you want to buy it,
I actually found it searching for some JD Hughes pictures, and there's some on there.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that where I am glad that people still go to Lone Star Speed Zone, which I don't understand why people don't, because it's so underutilized, is well, I think the problem with that is that our man Nick Holt still moderates that, and he doesn't put up with all this happy horse shit that goes on in the social media world right now. He still will ban your ass if you get in there and act a fool. And I think that's a problem. But I see that people sell a lot of stuff on there still. It's like they don't want to chat, but when they want to sell something, they go straight to that. Because it works.
Shane's the man. He just sent me the Facebook profile of Mr. JD Hughes. I don't know if he sent it to you too.
Nice.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, we'll definitely try to get that hooked up and talk some stuff with the man from Sundown.
Oh, that'd be fun. Him and Jay Watson. You talked to Jay Watson that one time, but we couldn't get him on the show.
I've tried to reach out back to him. I don't know exactly what may have happened. The other person that I want to get a hold of, there's a Midland, Odessa forum that's on Facebook, Midland, Odessa, and they talk about Twin Cities and all the. I want to talk to whoever runs that forum, because it's somebody that monitors that, and it's a lot of good pictures and stuff.
Yeah, but it's old John Foster pictures in there.
Yeah, yeah, because it really was. I mean, it was 4 different very. And I think that's where I get more heartbroken as a Texas asphalt racing fan, to where it's like, yes, I'm glad that we still have it, but I remember it was just very distinctive areas now, like with dirt. I mean, to me, dirt, it's like now just and it's the popularity of it, and it's nothing to cast shade at. I mean, they're just all kind of from Texas. Yeah. You know, I mean, I know the one that sticks out is Cut and Shoot, you know, we know, but, yeah, with the pavement guys, it was up there, down there, here, there, and right in the middle.
And he had a couple of Oklahoma hot shoes, you know, then Donnie Wilson started coming down in the mid, mid 90s, or late 90s, early 2000s. He came down from Oklahoma City, you know, in those Fords, and was smoking everybody's ass.
Yeah, won a championship. Yeah, he came down here and kind of
missed a race too. Missed a race that year and still won the title.
Whatever happened to Donnie Wilson? I wonder where that guy.
Maybe we need to get him on. Maybe you need to get him on the show.
Oh, legend. Be fun to get that dude on and see what he's up to these days. Yeah, that'd be pretty fun.
If only people knew how to check the archives.
Yeah. And speaking of this Greg Davidson thing, like we said, is Greg Davidson. The full first original Greg Davidson interview will be released in a couple of days, maybe a week or so. Want to get it over to the family and let them do whatever they want to do, especially with that August the 16th celebration of life. And you bet your ass that I don't care where that is. I'm going to be making that one. Coming up this week, King of the Hill on the dirt track side in Texas for our Texas race fans.
$10,000 to win factory stocks.
What's going to be the storyline coming out of that? I love how it's always like, okay, who's going to win? And they post, this guy has this many wins and this guy has that many wins and wherever. But it's always something else. It's always some other controversy. Like,
we'll see. To me, I feel like the King of the Hill is like for Dolphin Faulkner is the Daytona 500 for Earnhardt. He just can't. He's always strong, always competitive, and he just can't seem to win it.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see. He's definitely been tearing up. He's been spending a lot of time in the South. It seems like
has been a lot of time down in Texana.
A lot of time down here. So again, I mean, going back up there. I mean, it definitely is going to step up the heat a little bit, step up the volume, with that one, because it never disappoints that it's going to bring some of the best of the best. I just hope that we don't end up with a shit show with a bunch of irrelevant shit, a bunch of stuff that detracts from the racing, because that does happen a lot of time at big shows, whatever surface.
Unfortunately.
Actually, that's something I want to say about High Limits, because it was, as I've kind of watched, nothing against World of Outlaws. I like them both. I like them both the same because, whatever. But High Limits just appears to be a crisper program, it seems like to me. They're more adamant about starting on time, if at all possible, and getting the show in, it seems like. But it's run by racers. I think that's probably a different thing, too, to where that tends to fluctuate things.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's all the same. NASCAR going to San Diego. It's going to be run on a naval base there. I think that's huge. Celebrating the 250th year, like you and I chatted today. July 4th, I think, would have been better for that. But
a hell of a lot better than July 4th weekend.
Yeah. I mean, Father's Day. I mean, I'm glad it's on a special weekend for whatever. But I think that would have been a home run.
But at least it's going to be on Amazon Prime section of the schedule.
I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, that's a good get right there, as probably a good thing to get away from Chicago. And I saw something this week where it's like, oh man, bring back Kentucky. I'm like, Kentucky was on the schedule at one point, just like Chicagoland. What's old?
Apparently, NASCAR was getting a sweetheart deal in Chicago. They wanted to come back, but apparently the city wants more of the revenue. So funny how that works. They didn't think it was going to be worth a damn, so they didn't sign up a good deal to get a lot of revenue out of it. And then boom, they have the race. They have shitty weather every single 3 years in a row, and they still NASCAR, ended up making a little bit of money off that deal.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. They want to go back, they say.
I love that video today, though. That promo. That's the best. That's the best NASCAR promo video they've ever made. And it's probably one of the best promo racing videos I've ever seen.
Well, it's a good tie-in right there. I mean, I think if you're going to make a move into something that may not be as popular with a fan base, how do I say this the politically correct way?
Your hardcore fans are pissed off that they're going to San Diego and not going to Rockingham.
But you get something military involved, it makes it a little softer, a little softer, the blow, to where it's like, okay, I want to be pissed off, but it's neat that it's at a military base. So I can't be quite as pissed off.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of where, again, good strategery doing that.
Well, hell, Rockingham may not come back. The track's for sale, and they don't have a promoter to do a race. So
I know.
As much fun as that was this year, I don't know if they could be back next year.
And that San Diego thing, I think I saw it's going to be like 3 miles. It's going to be like fucking Coda. Well, not quite as big as Coda, which is coming back. Tickets are on sale now. Date to TBA. Hopefully around Mexico. Well, we don't know if Mexico's coming back or not.
Yeah, we don't know. Hadn't heard that. Well, everybody was concentrating on San Diego.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I don't know. Other NASCAR news. The playoff thing hitting new heights right now with the Danielle Trotta, Larry Mack thing, and Mark Martin. And look, if you're gonna change it, change it. I think if I'm NASCAR at this point, I would be very much so to do what the NCAA has done with the NIL and the portal. Be like, okay, if that's what you want, we're gonna do it. We'll change it. This is what you get. You know, people now bitching about the transfer portal and money and all that. Well, somebody needs to do something. This is what you wanted. This is what you wanted. Change the point system. Give them that. The leader's 200 and some odd points ahead going into the final race. Just do it. Just change it. See how it works.
If it wasn't broken, they wouldn't have tried something different.
Yeah. So I don't know what's going to come out of that. And people that are with the Mark Martin thing, I don't know about all that. I heard what was said. I think it's more aimed at Denny Hamlin, which honestly, I don't care if it's aimed at Denny Hamlin or Mark Martin or Dale Earnhardt Jr. or Carl Edwards, whoever we're casting shade at. I don't think you do that. I mean, because those guys we're all pretty good at what they did.
Yeah.
I mean, especially those. But now the whole thing is something that we know good and well. A lot of these NASCAR media people, they have to walk the company line. I mean, that's part of that. That's part
unfortunately,
yeah, that's part of that gig. On to Indianapolis, and I'm hoping for a good race.
Should be fun.
I think so.
These cars should put on a decent show anyway.
Yeah, I think it will. Let's check here, see if we got any other comment. Oh man, now there's another one. Bobby Kohler, the double O. That would be another one that I think would be really fun to talk to.
Big John's chassis, isn't that what it was?
I remember the red and yellow car. I think it was kind of one of those IROCs and so forth. That was. Yeah, man, this is fun. That's why I'm glad that we're getting to have these conversations, even though that it's a time of in a time of sadness. But I think what this is going to do, let's say we do talk to JD Hughes, what this has done, Greg Davidson, again, being the connector that he was, is going to make that happen because we're
still going to make it happen. Yeah,
we're sitting here reminiscing about him. All right, before we get out of here, we do have a couple of more Davidson stories, and I think, Bobby, one of the most talked about incidences that had ever happened was the 1986, 85, 86 accident there at San Antonio Speedway. You want to talk about going out of the park? It happened in turn 3, right at the end of a late model sportsman race, as they were called back. No super late models back in those days. Remember that super late model sportsman, limited sportsman? They didn't have any of these fancy names that they have now. Greg Davidson, just in the way that he always did stuff, he went out of the park in style back in those days, and he recounted that and told us all about it. Here is from the great Greg Davidson. What happened on that night at San Antonio Raceway?
I remember about that.
Man, I remember I'm just a very lucky SOB because I don't see how I got out of that. But what had happened, it was getting near the end of the race, a couple laps to go, and I was going down the back straightaway, and there was a lap car there. And I don't know if something broke on his car, but I was in the throttle all the way, and right as I was going to lift, his car comes up in front of me, and my left front tire hit his right rear tire and climbed it, and I gritted because I thought I was going to go to the wall hit on 130, but I kind of shut my eyes and drifted, and all of a sudden it got quiet, and all I could hear was wind. And then the next thing I remember is Beaver Stelzig was coming up and asking me where my ignition switch was because the fuel cell was wide open. And so from that amount, but it hit on the left rear after it flew over the banks. People don't realize if you walk up the banks and stand there and you look over off land, that's high.
That's way high. And as I remember, Greg, I mean, because a lot of guys did that, but I mean, you had the distance record. I mean, you were rows out in that parking lot.
Well, the action quarters and parking lot probably saved my life because the first time it hit on the back corner, my seat, I was in the seat, but the seat headrest was bent 90 degrees, and the side helmet holder brace was bent straight out. And when I finally got out of the car, but when it hit the first time, the motor came out of the car, the fuel cell came out of the car, and it just reached the whole joints of all the sections of welding, and like twisted the car, and it broke the roll cage at all 4 points coming in, and it was being held. The halo bar was being held up by a car piece coming from the inside of the car. So it was literally that car. I actually boarded that motor, but it ripped the side of the block out when it hit, and broke the transmission off the motor. I mean, there was nothing. It pushed the left rear tire in through. It pushed the battery through my seat. It hit so hard right there and splintered the battery up. So I guess that's when I got knocked out. And then I got back and looked at everything. But after it cracked on that first big hit, after it broke all that stuff, if I was going to be rolling over hard land, the whole cage would have been gone.
Yeah.
But I totaled 3 cars, Oldsmobile Cutlass, a Chevrolet Monte Carlo, and I forget whatever it was. But the one thing that kind of points out from that incident was 10 years later, we were at a race there, and somebody come up and asked me my name. I said, yes. He said, you the one that went over the wall? And I said, yes, I was. He said, do you realize that was my favorite car that I'd kept for so long? And he started just yelling at me.
Oh, my goodness.
I had no intentions of hitting their car.
Oh man, yeah, that was something to see. That was quite the ride. Quite the ride right there.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, and that's from the words of Greg Davidson. It's been a great time tonight. Just thanks to Gina and Chuck for talking about their stories there. And again, that celebration of life, August 16th is the date that we've been given. So obviously, just kind of stay in there. I would say with either Chris or Heather. And figure out what some of the details are going to be with that. But again, man, just kind of final thoughts of Greg. It was.
Didn't you say the best? You saved the best one for last, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's going to
best story in the history of the almost 9-year history of the Revved Up Sports Show.
Yeah. We're going to be back next Tuesday at our regular time, 7:00 Central, 8:00 Eastern. Talking, we'll get more into this, a huge week coming up next week. We'll have a recap from these parts with the King of the Hill. We'll get you ready for racing coming up next week. You've got a huge UARA event that's going to be going on at Auburndale. All of that, get you caught up on pro late model racing and so forth and so on. We did want to give most of this show to Greg. And again, we will have this interview that we're hearing pieces of. We will have that remastered and put out probably on YouTube and all the different places there once we get it over to the family. And so you can go back and listen to this whole thing, because these are just bits and pieces. And
there's two of them, right? We did it twice, didn't we?
There's two of them. But this is the one, because, and that's where you, not to give too much away if you haven't heard it, but it's like Bobby intros Greg, and he's like, Bobby does this amazing intro. Bobby's like, oh, and here we are, the Revved Up Sports Show, blah, 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 blah. And we're so amazed to be talking to Greg Davidson. Just this incredible intro. And Greg's like, well, I'm over here in the shop and I've been sitting over here working on this thing. It's like, shit. It's like, he didn't care about any of that stuff. He was just, here's what I'm doing and here's what I'm going to do. But we'll get that out. So we're going to check out of here. R.I.P. Greg Davidson. We love the Davidson family. Bobby, by the way, you're good, right? When you text me earlier, all is okay with you?
Wait, what did I text you earlier?
Monday. Yeah, that Monday you had to go, whatever.
Oh, yeah. No, that's fine.
Okay.
It
All
passed.
Right. Good. All right. Okay.
I had to think about it for a second. What did I text you? Oh, yeah. No, that's fine.
All right. Well, that's good.
They found nothing wrong. So.
All right. That's good. All right. We're going to check out. We'll be back next Tuesday, and we leave you with the most amazing revved up story, maybe racing story ever. In the words of the one and only Texas legend, Greg Davidson, when we talk about the fun on and off the track, here's what happened off the track. See y'all next week.
That they comped our rooms and we put their name on the car.
No, nice.
And
There you go.
And one night after the race, we were all out in the parking lot, from Mark Kredinsky to everybody else, and I actually drank too much.
Oh well, you know, it happens.
It happens.
I went to the room and got undressed completely and got in the bed, and then the next thing I know, I'm walking up the halls, up and down, butt naked, looking for my room, and I couldn't remember the damn room number. So I walked outside and started tapping on windows. And like I said, I wasn't all there. Basically, it ended up the hotel manager escorted me to a room under construction with a mattress on the floor. He gave me a sheet and says, "Don't leave this room. I'm locking it." So, and then my wife wakes up, and there's all my clothes there, everything, shoes, everything, and she says, "Where in the hell is he?" So that had to be hard on her.
I'm sure
to do that. But I remember, I think it was Christopher. I think came and got me from the room, and I wrapped the sheet around me and went and got my clothes. But I'm telling this on the radio, so I hope people, if they're on the radio, they go back and pick their worst memory.
absolutely. That one right there is going to be hard to beat.
That